all of us in the room together, I don't know how much background you have on what's happening, but we are working in partnership with, so we from the University of Washington are working with St. Petersburg College and Pinellas to help align and make some similarities across how people give feedback to teacher candidates. So that's really our work. So today is for all of our learning, you are helping us, thank you, okay, with our learning. They're gonna be really watching me, and I'm just trying some things out. I have, we have some observations and questions that we all discussed, and we did some thinking about this, but they're really gonna be watching how I work with you, and it's gonna help all of us grow in our feedback. So that's just, so you're just please, and I'm hoping it's helpful to you, but that's the big picture. And so expect these guys to be taking a lot of notes, because after the conversation, we're gonna be talking about what they saw me do. So you'll see them writing, okay? Don't be worried about that.
Some of the students work for the first group. I don't know if anybody wants to see it or not.
We may take a look at it in the conversation, and they may very well want to, so, okay? So, so thank you. So now we'll actually start the conversation. Okay. So, thank you again, and we're gonna spend roughly 15 minutes or so talking, and the real purpose is for me to, ask you some questions, get you to do some reflecting, and have some back and forth dialogue about you and your practice as a developing teacher. And I'm gonna stay focused on what you wanna work on in your practice, your goal areas, which were around modeling, I believe, and clear directions and transitions. And really, it's gonna be a back and forth. I wanna hear where you are. And so the questions I'm asking are genuine because I wanna know what you're thinking. And what I'm hoping we can arrive at is a real working together towards a next step that you will take on immediately to help you progress towards your goal. Does that sound good? Good. Do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, great. So thanks again. Yeah. So I'd actually like to start by asking you a little bit about modeling, and specifically, it was such a pleasure to watch you work with that group of kids, and we've gotten to see you before with them, and you've been with them all year. Is that right? Yeah. So you've really developed some community with them. You probably know them pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what are some of the students' reading and writing skills that you most want to support through your modeling of reading and writing? Just that will help me know a couple things about a direction for us.
I think for many of the students, it's just getting started on the work that's often difficult for them. So by giving them an example, showing them how I would approach just thinking out loud, using my reference, the text, where I would find my information, just giving them guidance as to what they use, what resources they can use, and giving them an idea of what they can use.
Okay. And can I ask why? Why is that, your biggest goal for them? So I'm hearing getting started, helping them know what resources to use. What are you seeing in them that, is prompting you to think about that?
I think some of them need to get more independent. I can feed them every kind of information, but they need to learn to do it on their own. So instead of me, that's why I chose not to use an example from the text they were reading, because most likely they would have then used that example for themselves. So I wanted to show them another example from a
different text.
Right. Just so they know what I did. I told them, I used this from the text, and I gave them a reference. And because they need the information, but I didn't want to give it to them from the text that they were going to be using on their own.
Okay. That makes sense. Absolutely. So where do you see yourself in your ability to model right now? Where are your biggest strengths, would you say?
Well, reflecting on the lesson, there are some things I would have done differently. I already knew that when I was out there, but I think
even in general,
in general,
around modeling, but not just today necessarily. I'm curious.
I think I'm decent at it. I just need more practice. I noticed that I've been in that classroom now since every day, and every day I'm getting better because I'm doing it every day. But sometimes what is clear to me may not be clear to the kids.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. So did you notice some things today? Okay, so talk a little bit about today. I want us to balance today with your practice long term. But what did you notice today about their ability to use what you demonstrated with the comic strip, with and then their T-chart and the article?
Right.
What did you see?
So what I expected them to do is, after I get directions, that they would just get started. Well, there was some misunderstanding, which I then addressed afterwards. So just being more clear that they're supposed to draft it first and then get started on the actual comic, which it wasn't a big deal. I interrupted them and told them, you know, please go back. Because I noticed they weren't doing it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So that drafting step first, would you say was the biggest piece that was, as you said, clear to you, but not necessarily clear to them? Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely noticed some real strengths in your practice in multiple areas, and that was one of them. That while you were walking around during work time, we right away, after maybe just a few minutes, you commented, "Okay, everyone, you know, I need you to get out. The loose leaf paper is for a draft. You need your T-chart. You need your article." Initially, only about 8 kids had the article and T-chart out, but as soon as you said that, they all got all of those materials out.
It's funny because they had it all out when they were working in groups, and I don't know what within a minute, but they all went out.
Right. Yeah, they lost them. Yeah, they went away. Right. Exactly. So just, you know, definitely a strength around noticing where the kids are and making a quick, you know, reminder. It's definitely a strength you have. You know, and we also noticed. I know we're going to focus on modeling, but I also know you've been working on transitions, and we definitely noticed when you transition them from their seats to the carpet, and then the carpet back to their seats. I mean, with one prompt, they were there within 15 to 20 seconds. So that's clearly something you've been working on. When you prompted them to turn and talk, they did. We saw partnerships really helping each other as well. You know, even before you gave the clarifying directions, I was watching Destiny, and who's Destiny's partner? Is it Bobby. Bobby didn't have his text out, and Destiny did. And she said, "No, you need to get your text out," and he did. You know, she kept him. You know, so just by having that partner routine, kids are already supporting each other's independence, which I know is something important to you. Yeah. So, and we saw lots of strengths. You know, we also noticed that when you were one-on-one with the students, you were prompting them to draft, to get their T-chart out, you know, and we noticed that you asked different kids different questions and prompted them in different ways, you know. Yeah, so is that something you've been working on as well?
Well, they need different assistance.
Yeah.
I have some students who are nonverbal who, you know, have a hard time just understanding and putting their own thoughts into English writing. One student particularly, because she's new to the country, new to the language. So I would ask her different questions, obviously, than some of my higher performing students. But in the end, they should all come to the same result, similar results.
Yeah. So thinking back on today and the different students, you know, some of the ones I was really keying in on were John, Bobby, and Vishna. Say it again. Vishal. Sorry. And then the girl in the front, who I think is pre-verbal. Rachel. Thank you. What did you notice about them, those 4, and what they were each able to achieve today in terms of their work?
I was very positively surprised, for example, by Vishal, because sometimes he has difficulty getting started or putting his own, you know, words into underwriting. But I gave him some guidance. I walked up to him and asked him, and I re-taught him the example of in the words that I used. I told him what a rebuttal was, what the counterclaim was, just because I felt like that wasn't maybe clear enough to him. So I told him, so, you know, what in your writing, what would be the counterclaim, what would be the rebuttal, and with a little bit of prompting, he was able to do it, and he was really proud. He showed me his work, and colored it all in nicely, and you can see that he was proud of what he did.
Yeah. So in his final, one of the conversations I overheard between the two of you, you reminded him to take out his text and T-chart and to pick something from the T-chart to put in his counterclaim, you know, in one of those categories. Did he in the end?
Yeah, he did.
He did. Okay.
I don't know if I think I have his here. No, I do not.
That's okay. Yeah, but you did see it. Yeah. Who did you choose to bring?
I had John Paul.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So what do you notice about John Paul? I didn't actually see his finished product, but I could see his draft. You know, what did you notice about him?
I was impressed. I saw it. He brought it up to me. He took probably, like, some of the students were done already. He took his time, and I saw it, and it was impressive what he wrote down.
What did he write down? Yeah.
So there's different people.
Yeah.
The girl says, I think public curfews are fair because curfews lower the number of teens involved in crime. So he used the text evidence right there from the article.
Yeah, and in his own words, I would add. Yeah.
And then the other person says curfews violate a minor's rights. Because the article talks about First Amendment, and curfews don't take away teens' rights. And the other person says, and And then the other person says, I just don't think we should have curfews. They mess up teens' lives. I don't think you're right. So he probably would have gone on and on
He
and
probably
on.
would.
But you can see that he has different, opinions and good arguments. So I was impressed.
So let's look at, would you say he was one of the stronger responses today? That's my sense, but I want to make sure.
And some of them were more creative. So he was really text-based, which I like, because that's one of the standards as well. So he went, identifying examples from the text, which he does great. And some of them were more creative. They made it sound more like it was an actual conversation they would have with their mom or their friend, which is totally fine as well.
Okay,
it was a creative assignment. I was curious about your priority today. Was the priority, because I know that the text evidence was something you emphasized with some kids one-on-one, and especially with taking the T-chart out. So if that was your priority versus them understanding claim and counterclaim, because it sounds like the kids who were more creative, potentially, we could look at another example. Like, what was your bigger priority today? I think my main point is what they should have is that I can see that there's a claim, the counterclaim about. It could be in whatever creative way they wanted to. So it could be a casual conversation between a mom and a teenager. I know some kids did that. It was like a conversation or an argument, if you want to call it that way, which I think is fine. And this person was more, more simple but text-based. So both is fine because both would have the concepts included in them. Okay, so that's really helpful, because hearing what you said at the beginning about your ultimate goal with supporting them through your modeling is helping them get started, right? Helping them ultimately become independent and develop skills that they can use forever, right? That seems to be what's key. And it sounds like there's lots of skills you demonstrated that they ended up doing today, some of them more than others. Using text, that's a transferable skill, sure. Claim and counterclaim, that's a transferable skill that will help them be independent, right? Sorry. Yeah, no, go. Yeah. It was an introductory lesson, so they have not heard about that before, so I don't expect them to be experts on this. No. But they have this concept in their mind, and they know that if they write it, the module test is coming up. They can use it in a sentence, they can bring in a counterclaim. I would obviously, work with them some more, maybe doing small teacher time or small group time. Somehow they can put it into their writing. But some students are ready. They wanted to write. Like one of the students told me, "Oh, are we writing an essay on this?" Like, they were excited. That is exciting. Yes, absolutely. And they've got the concepts anyway. It sounds like some of them anyway. And as you said, it's an introductory lesson. Okay. So I'm thinking about your goal around modeling, and I'd love to help work with you right now to think about a next step in your modeling. And this is not about redoing today, at all, but thinking forward, every time you model, I want to help you think about what might be next, so that the next time you're getting ready to model, you have a new piece in your own practice, because I think you're really on the verge of a lot in your modeling. So do you have any ideas? I have a few, but I'm curious if you have an idea. Simply just be more explicit. Okay. And what would that look like, for instance, tomorrow? I could, in addition to my verbal explanation, I would have some writing. Maybe I would put it on a written note, I put it on the projector. Okay. Which I sometimes have, I didn't have it this time. So just having verbal, so even if they listen to me afterwards for reference, they can look on the board and see. Okay. And so it might be a list of just a bullet point, like first, second, third, that way they can go one step to the next. Okay. And that way, during the independent work time, they have that reference. Yeah. Okay. Can I add one more piece? Yeah. Would you be okay with that? Okay. So one other possibility is, one of the things you said, you really wanted them to understand drafting. That drafting was an important part of the writing process today. And you recognized that and had to remind them. And you modeled with your cartoon. I should have probably drafted, right? Or just, what I mean? So not forget about today, but moving forward, if you say to yourself, okay, my priority today is that they need to draft, like just incorporating that into your model. Like, this is what my draft looks like, Yeah. So that makes sense. So I'm curious, that seems like it just came out of your mouth, like you knew exactly what you would want to do next. And I'm wondering, I know Mrs. Marian is in here, you have Dr. Santos to help you. What should they look for in your teaching, in your modeling, that would indicate that you've tried that on in your practice? Like, what would they notice in your work and in the kids? What inspires in my work, I would include, small thing I would probably include if I'm writing a formal lesson plan, just these transitional things, the modeling, more explicit I think if I think it out more explicitly, it'll help me doing it more explicitly with the kids. So they might see it in your modeling, in your lesson plan, yeah. And maybe they'd see on the document camera,
an artifact or
Right.
something from the lesson, like like you mentioned, the bullets, or they maybe would notice you take out the materials you want the kids to take out, right? That could look for that. And then what should they see in the kids as a result? You know, to know if you've been working on that, you know.
They should be able to be more. I mean, they were amazingly focused today. They were great. But it just should be more fluent. So they shouldn't be asking. You know, I set them off to work on their own. They shouldn't be going like, oh, what am I supposed to do?
Okay. Yeah. So they're getting started faster.
Right.
I can look for that. And is there any support you need in order to make this happen? And what would that look like? It could be from your cooperating teacher.
Right. No. Mrs. Zarin is a great support.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the planning, but we do it together. So she guided me through that. But slowly I'm taking over the guide, the planning portion of it. But just having her as a reference and having her tell me, oh, we did that on Pat, and what do you think about this? And could you do that? And then mix in my own personal experiences, just both of it together.
Absolutely. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, she's probably my greatest support. Because she's right there. She knows the kids. She's been doing it forever. Whereas I think from Dr. Santos, for example, the how am I doing it in a more formal way? Am I meeting the indicators? What can I do? Do I understand them right?
Okay. So it sounds like getting them thinking about your modeling together might be helpful, so that both of them are giving you feedback on that.
It's also going to be interesting to see from from someone who doesn't come into the class every day. If she gives me feedback, it's probably different than what you guys saw because you don't know the kids, you don't know the environment how they usually are. So
also a good point. Yeah. Okay. So potentially in the planning with Mrs. Azarian, am I saying that right? She could help you think through like the explicitness of the modeling. It sounds like would that be helpful? It sounds like you're already on your way, but
Well, she did ask me. It's like, well, did you go over it in your head? Does it go smoothly? And well, in my head it did, but
Of course, right. Well, I mean, it sounds like you know your next step, and you know what support you have and need, and you knew what you were looking for today in the kids, and I think you used all of that to help yourself reflect, essentially. So, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I mean, I'd be curious to hear what else, if there's anything else that you had, or yours and Coop had.
It's a great question. Yeah, we really focused on that, on the modeling and directions piece, and we had a couple ideas, and one of the ideas that came up is the one that you just named, about putting up the bullets and just being more explicit. Yeah, so, yeah, thank you. Thank you.